Early morning preparations. The alarm buzzed at 4:30 a.m. in the cramped Brooklyn apartment. Camila Rodriguez opened her eyes and stared at the ceiling for a moment, mentally preparing herself for what she kept calling the opportunity of a lifetime. Today was not just another wedding. Today was the event that could change everything for her struggling photography business. She quietly slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Jazz, who was curled up like a little burrito in her toddler bed across the room. Their studio apartment was tiny, but it was home. The walls were covered with Camila's photography prints, creating a gallery of memories and dreams. Each photo represented a story, a moment frozen in time, just like the moment 6 years ago when her own story had shattered into a million pieces. A mother's morning routine. Camila moved through her morning routine with practiced efficiency. Coffee brewing, camera equipment checked for the third time, backup batteries charged, memory cards formatted and ready. She had learned the hard way that preparation was everything in this business. One mistake, one missed shot, and your reputation could crumble faster than a sandcastle at high tide. The coffee maker gurgled its final breath as small footsteps padded across the floor. Jazz appeared in the doorway, her wild curls sticking up in every direction, clutching her stuffed elephant named Peanut. Her green eyes, so striking and unusual, blinked sleepily at her mother. "Mommy, are you leaving already?" Jazz's voice was thick with sleep. Camila knelt down and pulled her daughter into a warm embrace. "Not yet, sweet pea. Come here and have some breakfast with me." They sat together at their small kitchen table, Jazz munching on cereal while Camila went over her checklist one more time. The job had come through an exclusive wedding planning agency that catered to New York's elite. The pay was enough to cover 3 months of rent, plus Jazz's preschool tuition, and maybe even that art class she had been begging to take. The client details, so... "Tell me about the fancy people," Jazz said between bites, her legs swinging under the table. Samel smiled. Her daughter had an endless curiosity about her work. "Well, the bride's name is Natasha Winters. She owns a big fashion company, and the groom is very successful too." What Camila did not tell her daughter was how little information the agency had provided about the groom. The contract had emphasized discretion and privacy. Blake Harrison was described only as a prominent tech entrepreneur who valued his privacy intensely. The agency had sent minimal details, just the schedule, location, and specific shot lists that Natasha had requested. The name Blake Harrison had not triggered any recognition. It was a common enough name. America had thousands of Blake Harrisons. There was no reason to think it would be him. That Blake was supposed to be in California, building his empire, living the life he had chosen over her and their unborn child. Arrival at the mansion by 7 a.m. Camila was loading her equipment into her reliable but aging Honda Civic. Rosa, her elderly neighbor, arrived right on schedule to watch Jazz. The sweet woman had become like a grandmother to Jazz, filling a role that Camila's own estranged family could not. "You look beautiful," Mia, Rosa said, adjusting the collar of Camila's simple black dress. "Go show them what you can do." The drive to the Hamptons took nearly 2 hours. Camila watched as the cityscape gradually transformed into sprawling estates and pristine beaches. When she finally pulled up to the address, her breath caught in her throat. The property was magnificent, a modern glass and steel mansion overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. This was not just wealth. This was the kind of money that built empires. Security checked her credentials at the gate before waving her through. As she parked among the catering vans and florist trucks, Camila felt the familiar mix of excitement and imposter syndrome. She was good at what she did. Very good. But this world of unlimited resources and casual luxury was so far removed from her reality that it felt like visiting another planet meeting the coordinator. "You must be Camila Rodriguez," a woman in her 40s, wearing a headset and carrying 3 clipboards, approached her. "I am Patricia Holloway, lead coordinator. We are on a tight schedule, so let me walk you through everything quickly." Camila followed Patricia through the grounds, taking mental notes. The ceremony would take place on the south lawn overlooking the ocean. Reception in the grand ballroom. First look photos in the garden. Everything was precisely planned down to the minute. The bride is very particular about candid shots, Patricia explained as they walked. She wants authentic moments, not staged poses. That is why we hired you. Your portfolio showed exactly what she wanted. They passed through the mansion's interior, and Camila could not help but gasp. Floor-to-ceiling windows, contemporary art that probably costs more than her lifetime earnings, and staff members buzzing around like bees in a hive. She set up her equipment in a designated area, testing lights and angles. Falling into the comfortable rhythm of preparation, the bride's preparations, Natasha Winters was stunning. Exactly what Camila expected from a fashion mogul. Tall, elegant, with platinum blonde hair, and the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. She barely acknowledged Camila's presence as she directed her small army of stylists, makeup artists, and assistants. Camila captured beautiful shots of the preparations. The dress hanging like a work of art, shoes that cost more than her monthly rent, jewelry that sparkled with old money and new ambition. She focused on the details, the story within the story. The small moments that would matter when this day became memory. The groom is ready for photos. Patricia's voice crackled through Camila's earpiece. He is waiting in the library for first look shots. The moment everything changed, Camila gathered her gear and headed toward the library, mentally preparing for the formal shots. The door was slightly open, and she could hear male voices inside, laughing about something. She knocked politely before entering, her camera already raised to her eye as she scoped out the lighting. Through her viewfinder, she saw him before her brain could process what her eyes were seeing. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a custom tuxedo that fit him like a second skin. His dark hair was styled perfectly, his jaw strong and defined. But it was his eyes that stopped her heart. Those hazel eyes that shifted color in different light. Eyes she had stared into 1,000 times. Eyes that belonged to the man who had destroyed her life. Blake Harrison. The groom. Her Blake Jez's father. The camera nearly slipped from her shaking hands. Time seemed to slow down as Blake turned toward the door, his smile freezing on his face as recognition hit him like a freight train. The color drained from his skin. His mouth opened, but no words came out. For a moment, he looked like he might faint right there on the expensive Persian rug. "Blake, you okay, man?" Daniel Park, his best friend and best man, touched his shoulder with concern, but Blake could not respond. He was staring at Camila like she was a ghost. Like she was every regret he had ever buried coming back to haunt him on what was supposed to be the happiest day of his life. Memories.
Ow.
Flooding back, Camila's mind raced backward through time. 6 years ago, they had been young and in love, or so she had thought. Blake had been a struggling startup founder with big dreams and bigger ambitions. She had been a photography student working 3 jobs to pay for school. They had met at a coffee shop in Brooklyn, where she was working the morning shift. He had complimented her camera. They had talked for hours about art and dreams and building something meaningful. Their relationship had been intense, passionate, full of late-night conversations and early morning adventures. For 8 months, Camila had believed she had found her person. Then came the night she told him she was pregnant. The night everything shattered. She remembered his face, the panic, the way he had pulled away from her like she was toxic. "I cannot do this right now," he had said. "I just got my first major investor. I am moving to Silicon Valley next month. This timing is terrible. It's terrible." That was the word he had used to describe their child. Professional Mass Camila forced herself to breathe, to remember where she was and why she was there. She needed this job. She needed the money. Jazz needed new shoes and winter clothes and 1,000 other things that single mothers worried about at 3 a.m. "Good morning," she managed to say, her voice surprisingly steady. "I am Camila Rodriguez, your photographer for today. Shall we begin with some portraits?" Blake looked like he was drowning. His best friend glanced between them, clearly sensing something was wrong, but not understanding what. The silence stretched out uncomfortably until Camila raised her camera again, hiding behind the professional barrier it provided. "Let us start with you by the window," she directed, her photographer voice taking over. "The natural light is perfect right now." As Blake moved woodenly toward the window, Camila caught a glimpse of herself in the ornate mirror on the wall. She looked calm, collected, professional. No one could see the storm raging inside her. No one could see the girl who had cried herself to sleep for months, who had given birth alone, who had built a life from nothing because the man she loved had chosen his dreams over their family. She was not that girl anymore. She was Camila Rodriguez, successful photographer, devoted mother, survivor. And she would get through this day the same way she had gotten through every impossible day before it. One breath at a time. One photo at a time. One moment at a time. But as she focused her lens on Blake's face, capturing the guilt and shock in his eyes, she knew this was going to be the longest day of her life. The weight of silence the library session felt like it lasted an eternity. Though it was only 20 minutes, Camila directed Blake through various poses with clinical precision, treating him like any other client. She focused on composition, lighting, and angles, using her camera as a shield between them and the explosive conversation they both knew was inevitable. Daniel kept trying to lighten the mood with jokes that fell flat. Blake barely spoke, moving where Camila directed him like a man in a trance. His hands shook slightly when he adjusted his tie, and twice he had to clear his throat before responding to her instructions. "That should be sufficient for the groom's portraits," Camila finally announced, already packing her equipment. "I will meet you at the ceremony location in 40 minutes. She turned to leave, desperate to escape the suffocating tension, but Blake's voice stopped her. "Camila, wait, please." Her hand froze on the doorknob. Every muscle in her body screamed at her to keep walking, to maintain the professional distance that was the only thing keeping her together. But something in his voice, the raw desperation, made her pause. "Daniel, can you give us a minute?" Blake asked his friend. Daniel looked confused but nodded, glancing at Camila with curiosity before stepping out and closing the door behind him. The silence that followed was deafening. Camila kept her back to Blake, staring at the intricate woodwork of the door, counting the panels to keep herself grounded. "I did not know it was you," Blake said quietly. "The agency just said, Camila Rodriguez. I never imagined it would actually be you. There must be hundreds of photographers with that name in New York." "Thousands, probably," Camila replied, her voice flat. She still did not turn around. "You look amazing." "Your work, I mean." "The photos. They are incredible. Thank you." 2 words. Polite, professional. "Empty. Camila, please look at me." She took a deep breath and turned slowly. Blake had moved closer, and seeing him up close without the buffer of her camera was almost physically painful. He looked older, more refined, but still fundamentally the same man who had walked out of her life. The man who had chosen venture capital over their future. "What do you want me to say, Blake?" Camila asked, surprised by how calm she sounded. "Congratulations on your wedding. Congratulations on your success. You clearly got everything you wanted." "Not everything," his voice cracked. "Camila, I have thought about you every single day for 6 years. I have regretted what I did every moment since I left." She laughed, a bitter sound that tasted like old wounds. "You have a funny way of showing regret. You could have called. You could have texted. You could have sent a message through social media. But you did not. You vanished completely." The question he was afraid to ask, Blake ran his hands through his carefully styled hair, destroying hours of work in seconds. "I tried to find you. 2 years ago, I hired a private investigator. But you had moved, changed your number, deleted all your social media accounts. It was like you disappeared." "I did disappear." Camila's voice hardened. "I had to. Do you know what it is like to be pregnant and alone in New York City? To work 3 jobs until you are 8 months along because maternity leave is a luxury you cannot afford. I had to rebuild my entire life from scratch because you decided our baby was terrible timing." The word baby hit Blake like a physical blow. His face went white. "The baby. What happened? Did you keep it?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Camila felt her carefully constructed walls begin to crack. This was the moment she had both dreaded and imagined 1,000 times. What would she say if she ever saw him again? How would she tell him about Jazz? Before she could answer, Patricia's voice crackled through the earpiece Camila had forgotten she was wearing. Camila, we need you at the bride suite immediately. Natasha wants pre-ceremony photos now. Camila touched her earpiece. On my way? She looked at Blake one last time. You should get to your wedding. Your bride is waiting. Camila, please, I need to know. Did you have the baby? She walked to the door, her hand on the handle, and without turning back said, Yes, I had our baby. And she is the most beautiful, brilliant, perfect thing that has ever happened to me. No thanks to you. She left him standing there, and through the closed door she heard a sound that shocked her. Blake Harrison, billionaire tech mogul, was crying. Capturing false joy the rest of the morning passed in a blur of activity. Camila photographed Natasha with her bridesmaids, captured details of the elaborate floral arrangements, and documented the controlled chaos of wedding day preparations. She smiled when appropriate, made small talk with the wedding party, and delivered exactly what was expected of her. But inside, she was screaming during a brief break. She locked herself in a bathroom and called Rosa. Mia, how's it going? Rosa answered on the first ring. It is him, Camila whispered, her voice finally breaking. The groom is Blake, Jazz's father. Rosa gasped. Dios mio, what are you going to do? I do not know. I just need to get through today. How is Jazz? She is perfect, drawing pictures for you. Do not worry about anything here. Rosa's voice was warm and steady, exactly what Camila needed. You are strong, Camila. You have survived worse than this. After the call, Camila splashed cold water on her face, reapplied her makeup, and went back to work. The ceremony was about to begin. The ceremony guests filled the white chairs on the south lawn. Their designer outfits and expensive jewelry glinting in the afternoon sun. The Atlantic Ocean provided a stunning backdrop, waves rolling peacefully onto the shore. It should have been perfect, romantic. The kind of scene people dreamed about. Camila positioned herself strategically, able to capture both the bride's entrance and the groom's reaction. Professional distance, she reminded herself. Just do your job. The string quartet began playing, and Natasha appeared at the end of the aisle. She was breathtaking in her custom Vera Wang gown, a vision of elegance and wealth. The guests stood, phones already out despite the no photography request, unable to resist documenting the moment. But Camila's lens found Blake. His expression was complicated, tortured even. He was not looking at his bride with joy or anticipation. He looked like a man walking toward his own execution as Natasha glided down the aisle. Blake's eyes kept finding Camila in the crowd. She could see him struggling, see the internal war playing out across his features. When Natasha reached him and took his hands, he finally looked at her. And Camila saw him mouth something that looked like "I am sorry." The officiant began the ceremony. Talking about love and commitment and the journey to people take together, Camila documented it all, her camera clicking steadily. But her mind was miles away, 6 years in the past, remembering a different Blake who had promised her forever and delivered goodbye. The interruption. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now or forever hold your peace. It was a traditional line that no one ever actually responded to. Guests shifted in their seats, waiting for the ceremony to continue. Natasha smiled confidently. The officiant prepared to move on. Then Blake spoke. I do. The words fell like bombs into the peaceful afternoon. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Natasha's smile froze, confusion flooding her perfectly made-up face. The officiant looked stunned, clearly not prepared for this scenario. I'm sorry, Blake said, his voice carrying across the lawn. Natasha, I am so sorry, but I cannot do this. Blake, what are you talking about? Natasha's voice was sharp, her composure cracking. This is not funny. I know it is not funny. It is terrible. But I cannot marry you when I am not being honest with you or with myself. Blake released her hands and turned to face the guests, his eyes finding Camila. 6 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I walked away from someone I loved because I was scared and selfish and stupid. I chose my career over my family. I abandoned the woman I loved when she needed me most. Camila felt the eyes of 200 guests turn toward her. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This could not be happening. Blake could not be doing this at his own wedding. The truth comes out, Blake. Stop this right now, Natasha hissed, grabbing his arm. Whatever this is, we can discuss it later. But Blake gently removed her hand. You deserve the truth, Natasha. You deserve someone who can give you their whole heart. And I cannot do that because my heart has belonged to someone else for 6 years, even when I tried to convince myself it did not. He stepped away from the altar and walked down the aisle toward Camila. Guests whispered frantically. Phones were definitely out now, capturing what would surely become viral social media content. Daniel rushed after Blake, trying to stop him. But Blake kept walking. When he reached Camila, he knelt down right there on the grass. In his expensive tuxedo, in front of everyone, Camila, I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I know I destroyed what we had. But please, tell me about our baby. Tell me about our child. Give me a chance to be the father I should have been from the beginning. Camila's hands trembled so badly she had to lower her camera. Tears streamed down her face, and she did not bother wiping them away. Everyone was watching, waiting for her response. Natasha stood at the altar looking devastated and furious. The wedding was imploding in real time. Her name is Jasmine, Camila whispered, her voice barely audible. But everyone calls her Jazz. She is 5 years old. She loves art and elephants and asking questions about everything. She is smart and kind and funny. And she asks about you all the time. She wants to know why she does not have a daddy like the other kids. Blake's face crumpled. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Sorry does not give me back the nights I cried myself to sleep. Sorry does not pay for the hospital bills I worked for 2 years to pay off. Sorry does not explain to a little girl why her father did not want her. I was just too much of a coward to stay and be what she needed. Blake was openly crying now. Please, Camila, let me meet her. Let me try to make this right. Natasha's fury, are you kidding me right now? Natasha's voice cut through the emotional moment like a knife. She had marched down the aisle, her beautiful dress trailing behind her, her face twisted with anger. You are leaving me at the altar for this? For some photographer who clearly trapped you with a baby? Camila stood up, her fear replaced by protective fury. I did not trap anyone. Blake knew I was pregnant before he left. He chose to abandon us. Oh, how convenient. And now he is rich and successful, so you show up looking for a payday. Natasha turned to Blake. Can you not see what she is doing? This is a setup. She probably planned this whole thing. Natasha, stop, Blake said firmly. This is not her fault. This is mine. I should never have proposed to you when I had not dealt with my past. That was wrong, and I am sorry I hurt you. Sorry? You just humiliated me in front of everyone I know. Natasha's voice rose to a near scream. My parents are here. My business partners are here. This is going to be everywhere by tomorrow. Do you have any idea what you have done? I know, and I will do whatever I can to make it right. But I cannot marry you. It would not be fair to either of us. Natasha stared at him for a long moment, her chest heaving with fury and humiliation. Then she ripped off her engagement ring and threw it at his feet. You are both trash, she spat before storming off. Her bridesmaids rushing after her. The guests erupted into chaos, everyone talking at once, phones recording every moment. Blake stood there, his perfect wedding destroyed, his reputation in ruins, and his future completely uncertain. He looked at Camila. I know this does not fix anything. I know I have years of mistakes to make up for. But please, please give me a chance to know my daughter. To be her father, I will do whatever it takes. Camila closed her eyes, feeling the weight of 6 years of pain, anger, and loneliness pressing down on her. But she also thought of Jazz, drawing pictures at home. Asking questions about her daddy, creating elaborate stories about who he might be and why he was not there. This is not about you and me anymore, she finally said. This is about Jazz. She deserves a father who will actually be there for her, not someone who will disappear the moment things get difficult. I will never disappear again. I promise you that. Your promises did not mean much 6 years ago. I know. So let me prove it to you now. Let me show you that I have changed, that I can be the man she needs me to be. The man you both deserved all along. Camila looked at this man who had once been her entire world, who had shattered her heart, who was now kneeling before her in a ruined tuxedo, offering something she had stopped believing in years ago, hope. One chance, she said quietly. You get one chance to meet her. But Blake, if you hurt her, if you let her down the way you let me down, I will make sure you never see her again. Do you understand? I understand. Thank you, Camila. Thank you. As security began ushering the confused and excited guests away, as the perfect wedding dissolved into scandal and social media chaos, Camila packed up her camera equipment with shaking hands. She had come here to photograph someone else's happily ever after. Instead, she had lived through her own past, rising from the ashes. Whether it would become a new beginning or just another ending remained to be seen. The morning. After Camila barely slept that night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Jazz snored softly in her toddler bed across the room. The events of the previous day played on repeat in her mind like a movie she could not turn off. Blake's face when he saw her, the ceremony falling apart, his desperate plea to meet Jazz. By 6 a.m., she gave up on sleep and made coffee. Her phone had been buzzing nonstop since yesterday afternoon. Text messages from other photographers asking if the viral wedding disaster video was really her. Calls from gossip blogs offering money for her story. Even a voicemail from the wedding planning agency, their tone hovering between horrified and fascinated. She ignored them all except for one message from Blake, sent at 3 a.m. I meant what I said. Whenever you are ready, I am here. Take all the time you need. I will wait. Rosa arrived at 7:30, carrying fresh pastries and wearing her concerned grandmother expression. How are you holding up, Mia? I do not know what I am feeling, Camila admitted, accepting the coffee Rosa offered. Angry, scared, hopeful, confused. Everything all at once. Have you decided what you are going to tell Jazz? That was the question that had kept Camila awake all night. How did you explain to a 5-year-old that her father, who she had been told was not in the picture, suddenly wanted to be involved? How did you prepare a child for potential disappointment? I think I need to meet with Blake first. Alone. Make sure he really understands what he is signing up for. Camila wrapped her hands around her coffee mug. Jazz cannot be hurt by this. She comes first, always. That is why you are such a good mother, Rosa said, squeezing her hand. You always protect her heart. Meeting at the park, they agreed to meet at Prospect Park at 10 a.m. It's a neutral location where they could talk without interruption. Camila left Jazz with Rosa, promising to be back for lunch. As she walked through the park toward their meeting spot, she rehearsed what she wanted to say, how she would set boundaries, what questions she needed answers to. Blake was already there, sitting on a bench overlooking the lake. He was dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, so different from the polished businessman at the wedding. When he saw her approaching, he stood up quickly, his hands shoved in his pockets like a nervous teenager. Thank you for coming, he said. I was not sure you would. I am not doing this for you, Camila replied, sitting down on the opposite end of the bench. I am doing this for Jazz, I understand. Blake sat back down, maintaining the distance between them. I watched videos last night. Well, not videos. Just one video on repeat. It is all over the internet. People are calling it the most dramatic wedding meltdown of the year. Are you regretting it already? No. His answer was immediate and firm. The only thing I regret is waiting 6 years to do it. I should have come looking for you the moment I realized what a mistake I had made. When was that? When did you realize? Blake was quiet for a moment, staring out at the lake where ducks glided peacefully across the surface. About a week after I left, I was in San Francisco, meeting with investors, living in a cramped apartment with 3 other startup guys. I should have been excited, focused on the opportunities ahead. Instead, I kept thinking about you, wondering if you were okay. If the baby was okay, if I had made the biggest mistake of my life, then why did you not come back? Pride, fear, shame, take your pick. He turned to look at her. I convinced myself that you were better off without me, that I would just mess things up. I threw myself into work, telling myself that success would prove I made the right choice. But every milestone I hit just felt empty. When my company got acquired for $300 million last year, all I could think about was how you should have been there celebrating with me. Camila felt a familiar ache in her chest. I read about that acquisition. I saw your picture in TechCrunch. You looked happy. I was performing happiness for the cameras. Inside, I was hollow. Blake shifted on the bench. That is actually how I met Natasha. At a celebration party after the acquisition, she was confident and successful and seemed to want nothing from me except companionship. I thought maybe I could build a life with someone who did not know about my past. Someone I could not disappoint because I had not already failed them. That was not fair to her. I know. She deserved better than someone using her to try to forget someone else. Blake rubbed his face tiredly. Yesterday, when I saw you through that library door, I knew immediately that I had been lying to myself for 6 years. I never moved on. I never stopped loving you. And I had a daughter I knew nothing about. The hard questions love is not enough, Blake, Camila said firmly. Jazz needs stability. She needs someone who will show up consistently, not someone who disappears when things get hard. Being a parent is not romantic. It is exhausting and thankless and requires you to put someone else first every single day. I know that. Do you? Because 6 years ago, when I needed you to put us first, you chose yourself. What makes me think you would not do it again? Blake turned to face her fully. Because I have spent 6 years learning exactly how miserable that choice made me. Because I know now that success means nothing without someone to share it with. Because I am not that scared kid anymore who thought venture capital was more important than family. He paused. But you are right to question me. I have to earn your trust back. I have to prove that I am serious. However you need me to. Therapy. Child support payments. A legal custody agreement. I will do whatever makes you feel secure. Blake pulled out his phone and showed her something. Look, I already made an appointment with a family therapist for tomorrow. I want to understand how to approach this the right way. How to be a good father to a child who does not know me. Camila was surprised. She had expected excuses or demands, not someone who had already taken concrete steps. What about your company? Your life in San Francisco? I put my house on the market yesterday. I am moving back to New York permanently. My CTO can handle day-to-day operations. Being close to Jazz is more important than any business deal. That is a huge decision to make in one day. It is the easiest decision I have ever made. He looked at her with those hazel eyes that had once made her believe in forever. Camila, I am not asking to get back together. I know I destroyed that possibility. But please let me be a father to our daughter. Let me show her that even though I made terrible mistakes, I am willing to spend the rest of my life making up for them. Meeting Jazz, they talked for 2 more hours, establishing boundaries and expectations. Blake would start with supervised visits. He would attend parenting classes. He would provide financial support, but understand that money could not buy his way into Jazz's heart. Most importantly, they would move at Jazz's pace, letting her set the timeline for their relationship. That afternoon, Camila sat Jazz down in their small living room. Her daughter was coloring a picture of a rainbow, her tongue poking out in concentration the way it always did when she was focused. Jazz. Sweetie, I need to talk to you about something important. Oh, Jazz looked up, her green eyes curious. Are we in trouble? No, baby. Nothing like that. Camila took a deep breath. You know how you have been asking about your daddy? Jazz's entire face lit up. Yes. Did you find him? Is he coming to see me? He wants to meet you. Yes. But I need you to understand something first. Camila chose her words carefully. Your daddy made some mistakes when you were a baby. He was not ready to be a parent, and he left before you were born. That was wrong, and it hurt Mommy very much. Jazz's expression became serious, processing this information. Why was not he ready? Sometimes grown-ups make bad choices because they are scared. Your daddy was scared of being a parent, but he says he is not scared anymore, and he wants to be part of your life now. Does that mean I will have a daddy like the other kids? Maybe, but we have to take things slowly. You will meet him first, and if you like him and feel comfortable, then he can visit more often. But Jazz, baby, the most important thing is that no matter what happens, Mommy will always be here. I will never leave you. Jazz thought about this for a moment, then asked the question Camila had been dreading. What if I do not like him? Then he will have to work harder to show you he is worth knowing. You are in charge here, Jazz. You get to decide how much you want him in your life, okay? Jazz went back to her coloring. Can he come now? Now? Camila laughed despite her nerves. Are you sure you do not want more time to think about it? I have been thinking about it forever, Mommy. I want to meet my daddy. With trembling hands, Camila sent Blake a text. Jazz wants to meet you. Can you come to our apartment at 4 p.m.? His response was immediate. I will be there. Thank you, Camila. Thank you for this chance. The first meeting at exactly 4 p.m., there was a knock on the apartment door. Jazz jumped up from where she had been arranging her stuffed animals, suddenly nervous now that the moment was actually here. She grabbed Camila's hand tightly. It is okay, baby, Camila whispered. We will do this together. She opened the door. Blake stood there holding a stuffed elephant, not a generic store-bought one, but a beautiful handcrafted elephant that looked like it came from an artisan market. His face was a mixture of terror and hope. Hi, he said softly, his eyes immediately finding Jazz and filling with tears. You must be Jasmine. I have heard amazing things about you. Jazz peeked out from behind Camila's legs. Mommy says you are my daddy. I am. And I know I have not been here before, but I want to be here now, if that is okay with you. Did you bring me that elephant? Jazz pointed to the stuffed animal. I did. Your mommy told me you like elephants? This one is named Peanut Jr., because I heard you already have a peanut. Jazz's eyes widened. How did you know that? Your mommy told me? She tells me you are very smart, and that you love art, and that you ask lots of questions. I do ask lots of questions, Jazz agreed, stepping out from behind Camila a little. Why did you not come before? Blake knelt down, so he was at Jazz's eye level. That is the most important question, and you deserve an honest answer. I was scared. When your mommy told me she was going to have a baby, I did not think I was ready to be a daddy. So I left, and that was the wrong choice. It was the biggest mistake I ever made. Mommy says mistakes happen sometimes. Your mommy's very wise. But some mistakes are bigger than others, and leaving you and your mommy was a really big one. I am here now because I want to try to fix that mistake. I want to get to know you and be your daddy if you will let me. Jazz studied him seriously, and Camila could see her daughter's sharp intelligence processing everything. Finally, Jazz asked, Do you promise not to leave again? I promise. I am going to move to New York so I can be close to you. I will be here for your birthdays and your school plays and whenever you need me. Even in the middle of the night. Even in the middle of the night, Jazz seemed satisfied with this answer. She took a tentative step forward and accepted the elephant from Blake. Thank you for Peanut Jr. He is very soft. You are welcome. Blake's voice was thick with emotion. Can I give you a hug? Jazz looked at Camila, who nodded encouragingly. Then she walked into Blake's arms, and he wrapped her in a gentle hug, his whole body shaking as he held his daughter for the first time. Camila watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. It was not perfect. It did not erase 6 years of pain, but it was a beginning. 6 months later, the transformation happened slowly, built on consistent effort and genuine commitment. Blake moved into an apartment 3 blocks away from Camila and Jazz. He attended every single parenting class, every therapy session, and showed up for Jazz with a reliability that gradually dissolved Camila's fears. Their routine developed naturally. Blake picked Jazz up from preschool on Tuesdays and Thursdays, taking her to the park, or the library, or the art studio he had rented for her. He attended her dance recital wearing a shirt that said Jazz's dad in glitter letters. He learned how to braid her hair, how to make her favorite mac and cheese, and how to read her bedtime stories with all the funny voices she loved. One Saturday afternoon, Camila stood in Blake's apartment kitchen while Jazz showed him her latest artwork. The space was filled with Jazz's drawings, photos of the 3 of them, and the comfortable chaos of a home where a child was loved and welcomed. She adores you, Camila said quietly when Jazz ran off to get more pictures from her backpack. Blake smiled. Watching his daughter with open affection, the feeling is mutual. Being her dad is the best thing I have ever done. You're good at it. Better than I expected, Camila admitted. I had a great teacher. He looked at her. Watching how you have raised her, the love and strength you have given her every day for 5 years, has taught me what real parenting looks like. You are incredible, Camila. They had been carefully maintaining boundaries, focusing on co-parenting without addressing the complicated feelings that still existed between them. But in that moment, with Jazz's laughter echoing from the other room, and 6 months of Blake proving he meant his promises, Camila felt something shift. I was wrong about something, she said. What is that? I told you that you could never earn my trust back, but you have. Slowly, day by day, you have shown me that you are not the same person who left 6 years ago. Blake moved closer. I am not. That Blake was a coward who did not understand what really mattered in life. This Blake knows that his family is everything. Family, Camila repeated the word, testing how it felt. Is that what we are? I hope so. I know we are not a conventional family. I know I have no right to ask for more than what you have already given me. But Camila, these past 6 months getting to know Jazz, getting to know you all over again, has reminded me why I fell in love with you in the first place. I do not know if I can go back to who we were. I do not want to go back. I want to move forward, build something new, something stronger because we have both grown. I am not asking you to forget the past. I am asking if you think we might have a future. Jazz burst back into the room before Camila could answer, carrying a stack of drawings. Daddy, look! This one is you and me and Mommy at the zoo. And this one is our family with Peanut and Peanut Jr. Blake and Camila looked at each other over Jazz's head. In the child's eyes, they were already a family. Maybe it was time they started seeing it that way too. The new chapter 3 months later, Blake proposed. Not in a grand gesture, or at an expensive restaurant, but on an ordinary Tuesday evening in Camila's small apartment. Jazz had just gone to bed, and they were washing dishes together, a routine they had fallen into as Blake spent more evenings with them. I've been thinking, Blake said as he dried a plate, about this past year, about everything we have been through. That is deep thinking for dishwashing, Camila teased. I am serious. He set down the dish towel and took her wet, soapy hands in his. This year has been the hardest and the best of my life. Hard because I had to face all my failures and mistakes. Best because I got to fall in love with my daughter and fall back in love with you. Blake, where are you going with this? I do not have a ring. I did not plan some elaborate proposal. But standing here doing dishes with you feels more right than any grand gesture ever could. He smiled nervously. Camila Rodriguez, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making up for lost time? Will you give me the honor of being not just Jazz's father, but your husband? Camila looked at him, this man who had broken her heart and then painstakingly pieced it back together. This man who had learned that success meant nothing without family. This man who showed up every day with patience and love and consistency. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I will marry you. He kissed her then, and it felt like coming home after a long journey. Like finding something precious you thought was lost forever. From the bedroom, they heard a small voice. Mommy, Daddy, can I come out now? They broke apart laughing as Jazz appeared in her pajamas, grinning wickedly. I was listening. Does this mean Daddy is going to live with us forever? How long were you awake? Camila asked, trying to sound stern but failing completely. I never went to sleep. I wanted to hear the important grown-up talk. Jazz ran over and hugged both their legs. So, can Daddy live here? Please, please, please. Blake picked her up, settling her on his hip. How would you feel about that, Jazz? About us all living together as a real family. I would feel happy, Jazz declared. And we need to get Peanut and Peanut Jr. married too, so they can be a family like us. The simple wedding 6 months later, they had a wedding. Not in the Hamptons with hundreds of guests and unlimited budgets. In Prospect Park, where Blake had asked Camila to give him a second chance. With 50 of their closest friends and family, Jazz served as the flower girl, wearing a dress she had helped design, scattering petals with wild abandon and announcing to everyone that this was her mommy and daddy's special day. Rosa sobbed happily in the front row. Daniel served as Blake's best man, joking in his speech about how he had known all along that his friend was making a mistake at the first wedding. Camila's sister, who had flown in from California, admitted that she had been wrong to judge Camila's choices all those years ago. When it came time for the vows, Blake and Camila had written their own. Blake spoke first, his voice steady despite his tears. Camila, 6 years ago, I made a choice that cost me the most important things in life. Today, I make a different choice. I choose love over fear. I choose family over success. I choose showing up over running away. I promise to be the partner you deserve and the father Jazz needs. I promise to never stop proving that some people really can change. Camila held his hands tightly. Blake, you broke my heart, but you also showed me how strong I am. You taught me that I do not need anyone to complete me, which makes choosing to be with you even more meaningful. I choose you not because I need you, but because I want to share my life with you. I promise to trust in your growth while never forgetting the lessons we learned. And I promise that Jazz and our family will always come first. When the officiant pronounced them married, Jazz cheered louder than anyone, running up to join them as they kissed. We are a real family now, she announced to the crowd. Just like I drew in my pictures. As they walked back down the aisle together, the three of them, Blake leaned over and whispered to Camila, "Thank you for hiring you to photograph that wedding." She laughed through her tears. That was the worst and best day of my life. I too. But look what came from it. They looked at Jazz between them, skipping happily and waving at everyone like she was in a parade, and then at each other. Two people who had been broken apart and somehow found their way back together, stronger for the journey. Building a life together, the transition to living together, was surprisingly smooth. Blake sold his apartment and moved into a larger place in Brooklyn that could accommodate their growing family. Jazz got her own room, which she decorated with her artwork and an ever-expanding collection of elephant figurines. Blake's home office became a shared creative space where he worked on tech projects while Camila edited photos and Jazz practiced her drawing. The hardest part was not the logistics, but learning to be a team. Camila had spent 5 years making every decision alone, and trusting someone else with those choices did not come naturally. Blake had to learn that being a husband and father meant compromising his work schedule, attending parent-teacher conferences, and accepting that some business trips just were not possible anymore. Their first major disagreement came 3 months after the wedding. Blake had been offered an opportunity to speak at a major tech conference in Tokyo, the same week as Jazz's kindergarten graduation. "It is a huge honor," Blake explained one evening after Jazz had gone to bed. "They want me to keynote about ethical tech development. It could open doors for new projects." Camila set down the photos she had been editing. "And Jazz's graduation? I know the timing is terrible, but this conference only happens once a year. Jazz will have other graduations." Blake. Camila's voice was quiet but firm. "Do you hear yourself right now? You are doing exactly what you promised not to do. Choosing work over family, that is not fair. One speech is not abandoning my family. It is not about one speech. It is about what you are teaching Jazz. That work is more important than her milestones. That promises can be broken when something better comes along." Blake started to argue, then stopped. He thought about the man he had been 6 years ago, the one who had let career ambitions destroy his family. He thought about Jazz's face when she talked about her graduation, how she had made him promise 3 times that he would be there. "You are right," he said quietly. "I will decline the conference. Blake, I am not trying to control you or hold you back from opportunities. I know. You are reminding me what actually matters. Thank you." Pulled her close. "Jez's graduation? I will be there, front row, probably crying embarrassingly." "Definitely crying embarrassingly," Camila agreed, kissing him. "That is part of being a parent, expanding the family to years into their marriage." During a family dinner at their favorite neighborhood Italian restaurant, Jazz made an announcement that caught both parents off guard. "I have been thinking," she said seriously, twirling pasta on her fork. "Everyone in my class has brothers or sisters. When am I going to get one?" Blake choked on his water. Camila's eyes went wide. They had discussed the possibility of more children, but had not made any concrete decisions. "Well, sweetie," Camila began carefully, "having a baby is a big decision that Mommy and Daddy need to talk about." "You've been married for 2 whole years," Jazz pointed out with 7-year-old logic. "That seems like enough talking time." Later that night, after Jazz was asleep, Blake and Camila lay in bed discussing what had become an unavoidable conversation. "Do you want more kids?" Blake asked, playing with Camila's hair. "I do not know. Jazz is 7 now. Starting over with a baby feels overwhelming, but also the idea of giving her a sibling is appealing." Camila turned to face him. "What about you? You missed all of Jazz's baby years. Maybe you want to experience that?" "Honestly, I am terrified of babies. They are so small and fragile." Blake smiled. "But I am also terrified of everything involving parenthood, and Jazz turned out amazing. So maybe being terrified is normal."